The bank lobby smelled like polished floors and expensive perfume. Glass walls reflected quiet power people who never checked price tags, never hesitated at counters. Ethan Carter stood near the back of the line, holding his daughter Lily's small hand. She swung her legs gently, humming to herself, unaware of the tension in her father's shoulders. Ethan's jacket was clean but old. His shoes were worn thin at the soles. He didn't look lost, just out of place. When his turn came, he stepped forward and spoke softly. "I just want to check my balance." The woman behind the counter glanced up and smiled, not kindly. "Before we go any further, tell me, where are you watching from right now?" "A busy city, a quiet town, maybe somewhere that feels overlooked." Drop your city or country in the comments. It's amazing how far one story can travel. The woman's name was Veronica Holla. Everyone in the city knew her. Tech investor, real estate mogul, a regular at this private branch. Her presence alone usually made people straighten their backs. She looked at Ethan's clothes, then at Lily. "Checking your balance?" Veronica repeated lightly, amusement flickering in her eyes. "Are you sure you're in the right branch?" Ethan felt the heat rise in his face, but he kept his voice steady. "Yes, ma'am." The teller hesitated, uncomfortable. "Sir, do you have an appointment?" Ethan shook his head. "No, just the balance." Veronica laughed quietly, leaning against the counter like she owned it, which in many ways she did. "Some people wait years to build something worth checking," she said. "Others just like the illusion." Lily squeezed Ethan's hand. "Daddy, can we go get ice cream after?" Ethan smiled down at her. "We'll see, sweetheart." The teller finally turned to the screen. "Name, Ethan Carter?" The keyboard clicked. The screen loaded Veronica across her arms, still smiling until the color drained from her face. The teller froze. Silence spread through the lobby like spilled ink. The teller swallowed. "Sir, one moment." Veronica leaned closer, her smile gone now. "Is there a problem?" The teller's voice shook. "No, just verifying." Ethan waited, calm, patient. He'd learned that from years of being underestimated. Refresh dot and everything changed. Veronica's eyes widened as the numbers settled into place. She stared, then leaned closer, disbelief tightening her jaw. "That's not possible," she whispered. Ethan said nothing. The teller finally looked up at him, eyes full of new respect. "Mr. Carter, would you like a printed statement?" Veronica stepped back slowly, like the floor had shifted beneath her. Ethan nodded once. "Yes, please." Lily looked up at him. "Daddy, are we okay?" Ethan knelt, meeting her eyes. "We're more than okay. If you were standing there, being laughed at, judged by how you looked, what would you have done in that moment? Be honest. Comment your answer below. And if this moment touched something in you, tap like to show that dignity still matters." The printer hummed. Paper slid out. Veronica didn't look away because the balance on that screen didn't just show money. It showed a story she never expected, and she was about to learn exactly how wrong she'd been. The printer finished with a soft click. The teller tore the page carefully, as if sudden movements might shatter the moment, and slid it across the counter. Ethan didn't rush to take it. He glanced down only briefly, long enough to confirm what he already knew, then folded the paper and slipped it into his jacket pocket. Veronica was still staring at the screen. The number hadn't changed. It hadn't glitched. It hadn't lied. Her reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar now, eyes wide, lips parted, confidence cracked just enough to let disbelief seep through. "That account?" She began, then stopped, cleared her throat. "That account is substantial." Ethan gave a small nod. "It's enough." The teller straightened in her chair, voice noticeably warmer. "Mr. Carter, if you'd like, we can move you to a private office." That won't be necessary, Ethan said calmly. We're done. He took Lily's hand and turned away from the counter. People in line shifted. A man lowered his phone. A woman glanced at Ethan's jacket again, then at his face, like she was trying to rewrite the story she told herself 2 minutes earlier. Veronica stepped after him. Mr. Carter. Ethan stopped, but didn't turn around. I didn't mean, she exhaled, frustrated. I just assumed. He looked back at her then. Not angry, not smug, just tired. Most people do, he said. They walked out together into the cold afternoon air. The bank doors closed behind them with a soft finality. Lily skipped a little as they reached the sidewalk. Daddy, can we really get ice cream? Ethan smiled, the tension finally easing from his shoulders. Yeah, we can. They didn't notice Veronica standing just inside the glass, watching them leave her reflection layered over theirs. Like two different worlds trying to understand each other. The ice cream shop was small and loud and smelled like sugar. Lily chose chocolate with sprinkles, her favorite. Ethan paid in cash and sat across from her, watching the way joy came so easily to children. Daddy, Lily said between bites, that lady at the bank was mean. Ethan considered his words. She didn't know us. Lily nodded, serious. Then she should have asked. Ethan laughed softly. You're right. As Lily talked about school and her best friend and a class project due next week, Ethan's mind drifted backward to years most people would never imagine. When they looked at that bank balance, there was a time when he'd stood in a different bank, palms sweating, praying his card wouldn't be declined. A time when Lily's mother, Hannah, lay in a hospital bed, machines breathing for her while bills stacked up like quiet threats. After Hannah died, everything collapsed at one stop: the house. The job. The version of Ethan who believed effort always guaranteed reward. He'd taken whatever work he could find. Night shifts. Weekend contracts. Consulting jobs no one wanted. He slept in his car once, just one night, so Lily could keep her routine. Her bed, her sense of safety. No one at the bank that day knew that. They didn't know how many times he'd chosen silence over pride. How many offers he'd refused because they required stepping on someone else. How many nights he'd stared at spreadsheets instead of sleeping, building something slowly, quietly, without applause. The money hadn't come from luck. It had come from patience, from restraint, from a refusal to quit. When quitting would have been easier, that evening, after Lily fell asleep with her ice cream-stained smile still lingering, Ethan sat at the kitchen table and opened his laptop. Emails waited, clients, investments, partnerships he kept intentionally low profile. One message stood out from Veronica. Holly, I owe you an apology. Ethan stared at the screen for a long moment. He didn't reply right away. He thought about how close he'd come, years ago, to believing the worst thing anyone ever said about him. About how dangerous it was to let other people define your value. He closed the laptop instead. Some apologies didn't need answers. The next morning, Ethan walked Lily to school. Parents clustered near the gate, chatting, checking phones. He noticed a few glances linger a little longer than before. Word traveled fast in small cities. A man he vaguely recognized leaned over and whispered to another, eyes flicking toward Ethan. That's the guy from the bank. Ethan ignored it. He knelt to Lily's level and zipped her jacket. Have a good day, he said. I will, she replied, hugging him tight. As he watched her run inside, Ethan felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not pride, not relief. Clarity. Have you ever had someone help you when no one else would, when the world had already decided who you were? Right, yes, and tell me their name. Sometimes gratitude travels farther than money ever could. Ethan turned and walked back toward his car, unaware that the moment at the bank was already moving beyond gossip toward consequences. toward choices, toward a test that would ask him what mattered more, being right or being kind. Because the scream that shocked a millionaire had done something else too. It had pulled Ethan back into a world he'd learned to navigate quietly. And this time, walking away wouldn't be an option. The consequences arrived faster than Ethan expected. By noon, his phone buzzed nonstop. Old contacts, new numbers. People who hadn't returned his calls years ago suddenly wanted meetings, lunches, quick conversations. Ethan silenced the phone and focused on the road. Lily's school pickup came first. Everything else could wait, but the world didn't wait. Outside the school gate, a black sedan idled, clean, quiet, expensive. A woman stood beside it, sunglasses on, posture sharp. Veronica Hall. Ethan slowed. His first instinct was to turn around, not out of fear, out of exhaustion. He didn't want another scene. Lily didn't need one. Veronica spotted him and removed her sunglasses. For a second, she looked unsure. "Mr. Carter," she said when he reached her. "May I have a minute?" Ethan glanced toward the school doors. "One," she nodded. "I was wrong this morning. About you, about a lot." Ethan didn't answer. "I didn't know your story," she continued. "I shouldn't have assumed." "No," Ethan said calmly. "You shouldn't have judged." The words weren't sharp. They didn't need to be. Veronica inhaled. "I'd like to make it right." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "How?" She hesitated. "I run a foundation. We fund education, housing, innovation. I think," she stopped herself, "I know I could learn something from you." Ethan looked past her toward the doors where children spilled out, laughter loud and careless. "I don't want attention," he said. "And I don't need money." Veronica nodded slowly. "Then help me do something that matters." Lily ran out, backpack bouncing. "Daddy." Ethan crouched and hugged her. "Hey, kiddo." Lily looked up at Veronica. "Are you the lady from the bank?" Veronica winced, then smiled gently. "Yes, I am." Lily tilted her head. "You look surprised." Veronica laughed softly. "I was." Lily shrugged. "People are surprising." Ethan smiled. They left Veronica standing by the sedan, thoughtful, watching them walk away. That evening, Ethan cooked dinner while Lily colored at the table. Steam rose from the pot, fogging the window slightly. It felt like any other night. That mattered to him. "Daddy," Lily said, "are we rich?" Ethan stirred slowly. "We're okay." She nodded, satisfied. "Okay is good." Later, after Lily slept, Ethan reopened his laptop. Messages waited. One from Veronica, again shorter this time. No cameras. No announcements. Just listening. Ethan leaned back, weighing it. He remembered a shelter he'd quietly funded years ago after a client's project took off. No plaques. No press. Just beds and meals that appeared when needed. He typed a reply, "I'll listen." Nothing more. The meeting was held in a small room, no logos on the wall. Veronica arrived alone this time. No assistants. No entourage. She listened. Ethan spoke about invisible people. About systems that rewarded noise instead of need. About how dignity mattered as much as dollars. About Lily's school and parents who worked 2 jobs and still worried. Veronica took notes. Not performative ones. Real ones. At the end, she asked, "If you could change one thing tomorrow, what would it be?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "Childcare that doesn't punish people for working?" Veronica nodded. "We can start there." Weeks passed, quietly. A pilot program launched without headlines. A school partnership formed. Parents breathed a little easier. Lily noticed classmates staying longer at aftercare without fear. Ethan stayed out of the spotlight. On purpose. One afternoon, Veronica called. "I wanted to say thank you," she said. For not embarrassing me. Ethan paused. I wasn't trying to win. I know, she replied. That's why it mattered. Now it's your turn to share one small good thing you did recently. Write it below so others remember that humanity still lives. Your story might light someone's path tonight. The city hummed on. Rumors faded. Work continued. Then the email arrived. A subpoena request. Public records. A journalist digging into Ethan's finances, his past, his ties to Veronica. Curiosity sharpened into suspicion the way it always did when quiet people were discovered to be powerful. Ethan stared at the screen. He could shut it down with lawyers. He could make it disappear, or he could step forward and tell the truth, risking misunderstanding, headlines. And the one thing he'd protected most, Lily's normal life. He closed the laptop and looked at the family photo on the fridge. Hannah smiling. Lily younger. A promise made in quieter days. The test wasn't about money. It was about whether he would keep choosing the harder, right over the easier quiet. And as night settled in, Ethan knew the next choice would change more than a bank lobby ever could. Ethan didn't answer the journalist. Not that night. He stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing Lily's lunch container, watching the water run until it went clear. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge and Lily's soft breathing from her room. Quiet used to mean safety. Now it felt like a question waiting to be answered. He knew how stories worked. They didn't start with facts. They started with angles. A mysterious single dad. A secret fortune. A powerful woman suddenly interested. None of it was false. None of it was true in the way it mattered. The next morning, Ethan walked Lily to school like always. He noticed the camera this time across the street, lens half hidden behind a car door. He kept his pace steady, kissed Lily's forehead, and smiled as she ran inside. Love you. She called back, always. He replied. At work, the tone shifted. Colleagues whispered. One congratulated him awkwardly. Another asked if he was okay. Ethan answered emails, finished tasks, kept his head down. He learned long ago that panic-invited mistakes. By noon, Veronica called. They're circling, she said. I can make it stop. Ethan leaned back in his chair. How? She hesitated. Pressure, access, a well-placed call. Ethan pictured Lily's classroom. The chalkboard. The small desk with her name taped to the front. No, he said gently. Let it come. There was a long pause. You're sure? I don't want her growing up thinking truth needs protection, he said. Only lies do. That afternoon, the article dropped. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't kind. It was curious enough to spark conversation without committing to judgment. It mentioned the bank incident, the balance, the meetings. It asked questions without answering them. Comments followed. Some supportive, some suspicious. A few angry that someone like him could have that much and not show it. Ethan closed the page. That evening, Lily asked the question he'd been bracing for. Daddy, she said, sitting cross-legged on the couch, why were people taking pictures of us? Ethan sat beside her. Sometimes grown-ups get curious when they don't understand something. Did we do something wrong? No, he said firmly. We did nothing wrong. She thought for a moment. Then it's okay. It wasn't permission he needed, but it felt like it anyway. The next day, a woman approached him in the lobby at work. Mid-40s, tired eyes. Nervous smile. I read about you, she said. My husband died last year. I'm raising my son alone. I just wanted to say thank you for staying quiet about the hard parts. Ethan swallowed. You're doing more than you think. She nodded, tears welling. So are you. That night, Ethan received a message from the journalist. I want to tell this right. Would you talk to me? On your terms. Ethan stared at the screen. This was the reveal, not the money, not the balance, not the power, but the truth beneath it all. He agreed. They met in a cafe. No recorder at first. Just conversation. Ethan spoke about Hannah, about hospital rooms and late nights, about choosing steady over shiny, about Lily and the promise he made when he first held her. The journalist listened. When the recorder finally came out, Ethan said one thing clearly: "I'm not impressive. I'm consistent." The follow-up piece ran 2 days later. It didn't headline the number. It headlined the choice. If that moment, the truth finally being told, hit you somewhere deep, leave at bay. Sometimes one small symbol says what our hearts can't. The response was different this time, quieter, warmer. Messages from parents, from people who'd been judged by shoes, by silence, by survival. Veronica sent a single line: "You didn't protect yourself. You protected meaning." Ethan turned off his phone and took Lily for ice cream. Again, chocolate with sprinkles. Again. On the way home, Lily skipped ahead and then stopped, waiting for him. "Daddy," she said, serious, "are we still okay?" Ethan smiled. "We always were." As they walked, Ethan felt the weight lift, not because the world understood him now, but because he'd stopped needing it to. But understanding, once invited in, had a way of changing things. The final test wasn't about reputation. It was about forgiveness, and it was already on its way. The days after the article felt slower, like the city itself had eased its pace to watch what Ethan would do next. Nothing dramatic happened. No offers, no protests. Just small shifts, people holding doors longer, coworkers speaking softer, strangers meeting his eyes instead of scanning past him. Attention, Ethan realized, didn't always shout. Sometimes it lingered. At Lily's school, the teacher asked if he could help with a career day talk. "Just 5 minutes," she said, apologetic. Some of the kids read the piece. Ethan almost said no. Then he remembered the woman in the lobby. The way gratitude had looked on her face, not loud, just relieved. He said yes. The classroom smelled like crayons and hand sanitizer. Posters lined the walls. Lily sat near the front, trying not to smile too big. Ethan stood with his hands in his pockets and told the truth in simple words. "I help people solve problems," he said. "Sometimes those problems are numbers. Sometimes they're feelings. The most important part is showing up when it's hard." A boy raised his hand. "Do you wear a suit to work?" Ethan smiled. "Sometimes, but not to be important. To be prepared." Another hand. "Are you rich?" Ethan glanced at Lily. "I'm okay," he said. "And I'm careful." After class, the teacher thanked him. Lily hugged him in the hallway. "You weren't boring," she said. High praise. That afternoon, Veronica invited him to see the pilot program's first week. No press, just a converted room near a school, bright, safe, staffed by people who listened. Parents arrived early, eyes cautious, hope measured. One mother took Ethan aside. "This lets me keep my job," she said. "I won't have to choose anymore." Ethan nodded. That's the goal. As he watched children settle into routines they hadn't had before, he felt the old pull, the instinct to scale, to optimize, to make it bigger faster. He resisted. Consistency mattered more than applause. On the drive home, he passed the bank. For a moment, the glass doors reflected the sky the way they had that day, clean, indifferent. He kept driving. At dinner, Lily told him about a classmate who shared her lunch. She said her dad works nights, Lily explained. So I shared. Ethan paused. How did that feel? Good, Lily said simply. He washed the dishes slower than usual, letting the moment settle. The email arrived that evening. From Hannah's brother. They hadn't spoken in years. I saw the article. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. Can we talk? Ethan stared at the screen. Old anger stirred quiet, practiced. He remembered hospital hallways and unanswered calls. Remembered how grief had rearranged everyone differently. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he sat with Lily while she finished homework, listening to the scratch of her pencil and the soft tick of the clock. Forgiveness, he knew, wasn't a decision you made in a rush. It was something you prepared for the next day. A small crowd gathered at the community room, parents trading schedules, kids learning names. Ethan stood back, hands folded, content to watch. A volunteer approached. "We're thinking of a suggestion wall," she said. "Small things people want help with." Ethan nodded. "Make it anonymous." "Why?" "So pride doesn't get in the way of need." The wall filled quickly. "Homework help. Bus passes." Someone to listen. Ethan read them quietly, thinking of all the times he'd needed the same. Now, it's your turn. Share one small good thing you did recently. Write it below so others remember that humanity still lives. Your story might light someone's path tonight. That weekend, Ethan met Hannah's brother at a diner. No speeches, no excuses. Just two men telling the truth in low voices. Apologies landed where they needed to. Not everything healed. Enough to. When Ethan got home, Lily was asleep on the couch, book open on her chest. He carried her to bed and tucked the blanket around her shoulders. Standing in the doorway, he understood something new. Story wasn't moving toward a reveal anymore. It was moving toward a choice, one that would ask him not whether he could keep being right, but whether he could stay kind when it finally cost him something he cared about. And that question, once asked, doesn't wait long for an answer. The cost arrived quietly. Not as a threat, not as a headline. As an offer. Veronica called on a Sunday morning. Her voice was calm, professional, but there was something underneath it this time. Caution. "The board wants to move faster," she said. "They want expansion, visibility, a face." Ethan sat at the kitchen table, Lily coloring nearby. "A face for what?" "For the work," Veronica replied. "For the programs. For trust." Ethan already knew what that meant. "My face," he said. "Yes." He didn't answer right away. He watched Lily carefully outline a sun. Yellow crayon pressed hard like she wanted it to last. "There's a catch," Veronica added. "There always is." Ethan waited. "They want full transparency," she said. "Assets, accounts, past decisions. Everything public. If we're asking people to trust the work, they'll want to trust you." Ethan felt it, then the tightening in his chest. "Not fear, protection. And Lily?" he asked quietly. Veronica paused. "We do everything we can to shield her, but attention doesn't always listen." After the call, Ethan didn't move for a long time. This was bigger than a bank lobby, bigger than curiosity or gossip. This was exposure, the kind that doesn't fade when the news cycle moves on, the kind that follows children to school, that rewrites normal. That night, Ethan lay awake listening to Lily breathe. He thought about the childcare room filled with parents who could finally work, the suggestion wall, the quiet good that had begun to spread, and he thought about Hannah, about the promise he'd made at her. That side, protect her peace. The next day, the pressure grew. Emails, advisors, a draft announcement that used words like visionary and leader. None of it felt like him. At Lily's school pickup, a mother stopped him. "I hope you say yes," she said gently. "This changed my life." Ethan nodded, heart heavy. Another parent added, "People listen when there's a name." Ethan smiled politely. He didn't tell them that names came with shadows. That evening, Lily asked a question that landed harder than any boardroom pitch. "Daddy," she said, brushing her teeth, "why do people look at us more now?" Ethan knelt. "Because sometimes people notice when they think something is different." "Is it bad?" She asked. No, he said softly, just louder. She had thought about that. I like quiet. Ethan swallowed. Me too. The meeting was scheduled anyway. A long table. Clean lines. Serious faces. Veronica sat at the end, watching him carefully. We're not asking you to change, one board member said. We're asking you to lead. Ethan folded his hands. Leadership doesn't always need a spotlight. Spotlights bring funding, another replied. Funding brings scale. And scale, Ethan said calmly, brings distance. A murmur moved through the room. Veronica leaned forward. Ethan, this is how systems change. Ethan met her eyes. Sometimes. And sometimes systems change people first. The room felt quiet. They gave him time. A week. That night, Ethan took Lily for a walk. Just around the block. The air was cool. Familiar houses glowed warmly. They sat on a low wall near the park. Daddy, Lily said, swinging her legs. If you help more people, is that always better? Ethan smiled sadly. Not if you stop helping the people closest to you. She leaned into him. I don't want to be on TV. Ethan closed his eyes. That was the answer. The next morning, Ethan called Veronica. I can't be the face, he said. I'll help build. I'll advise. I'll fund quietly. But I won't trade my daughter's peace for progress that can find another way. Veronica was silent for a long moment. Then she said, You know this will disappoint people. Yes, Ethan replied. But it won't disappoint the one person who matters most. The board accepted it with reluctance. Another face would be chosen. The programs would continue. The work would live without him at the front. But not everyone took it well. An opinion piece followed. Opportunity wasted. A comment thread called him selfish, cowardly, afraid. Ethan read none of it. But that afternoon, Hannah's brother called again. I heard, he said. You gave up something big? Ethan exhaled. I chose something bigger. The old anger stirred again, less sharp now, but present. Be honest with yourself for a moment. If someone once hurt you deeply, could you forgive them now when you've grown stronger? Type forgive if you think you could, or never if the wound would still break you. Ethan stood at Lily's bedroom door that night, watching her sleep, knowing he'd stepped away from one kind of power to protect another kind entirely, and though the world might never applaud that choice, it was the one that let him breathe. But forgiveness, real forgiveness, was still unfinished, and it was about to ask something of him he hadn't prepared for yet. The noise faded faster than Ethan expected. The think pieces moved on. Another story took its place. Another outrage. Another face. The world did what it always did. It found something else to look at. And in the quiet that followed, life returned to its true size. Ethan kept his routine. Morning drop-offs. Evenings at the table. Weekend walks where Lily pointed out dogs and asked questions that had no wrong answers. The programs continued without his name attached. Childcare rooms stayed open. Parents kept breathing easier. Good work didn't stop just because he stepped out of the frame. One afternoon, Veronica visited the community room alone. No press, no board members. They're doing well, she said, watching a group of kids building towers out of blocks. Better than projected. Ethan nodded. People rise when they're trusted. She glanced at him. You gave them that, and you gave them resources, he replied. It takes both. Veronica hesitated. I didn't handle the bank well, she said quietly. Or the assumptions after. Ethan met her eyes. You handled the correction. She smiled, grateful for the distinction. That evening, Ethan received another message from Hannah's brother Short. This time, I'd like to help, quietly. If you'll let me. Ethan considered it longer than he expected. Forgiveness wasn't forgetting. It was choosing a future that wasn't held hostage by the past, They met the next week at the community room. No speeches, just work, shelving books, fixing a loose hinge. Hannah's brother didn't explain himself. He didn't need to. They worked side by side in silence that felt earned. Later, as they stacked chairs, he said, "I wasn't there when you needed me. I won't pretend otherwise." Ethan nodded. Being here now counts. It wasn't absolution. It was a beginning dot at Lily's school. The teacher pulled Ethan aside. "She's been helping other kids with reading," she said, without being asked. That night, Ethan asked Lily about it. She shrugged. "It's easier when someone sits with you." Ethan smiled. "You figured that out early?" Spring settled in. The city warmed. Windows opened. The community room hosted small celebrations, birthdays without banners, victories without cameras. Ethan found joy in the margins, in the maintenance of good things. One Saturday, a family approached him after a workshop. The father spoke softly. "We heard you turned down the spotlight." Ethan nodded. The mother smiled. "Thank you. It told us we could matter without becoming loud." Ethan felt the truth of it land gently. He didn't need to be an example anymore. He just needed to be consistent. That night, he and Lily lay on the living room floor, looking up at the ceiling fan spin. "Daddy," Lily said, "are we done being talked about?" Ethan laughed. "I think so." She sighed, content. Good. As weeks turned into months, the work took on a life of its own. New leaders emerged, parents, teachers, neighbors. The programs adapted, grew roots. Ethan advised when asked and stepped back when not. Hope, he learned, didn't require a hero. It required room. If you believe love still wins quietly, steadily, without needing a spotlight comment. Amen. Let this space fill with hope. Someone scrolling right now might need to see it and keep going. One evening, Veronica sent a final message. "It changed how I measure success." Ethan replied with a simple "glad it helped." He turned off his phone and watched Lily draw at the table, her brow furrowed in focus. The house felt calm. Earned. Ethan knew now that the screen at the bank had shocked a millionaire. But the life he'd built afterward, the one protected, intentional, kind, had done something far more important. It had shown his daughter what matters, and that was a balance he would protect. Always. Summer arrived without ceremony. The kind that didn't announce itself with fireworks or headlines, just longer evenings and softer mornings. Windows stayed open. Laughter drifted farther. The community room filled on its own now, no reminders needed. Ethan noticed something had changed, not around him, but within him. He no longer flinched when his phone buzzed. He no longer scanned rooms for judgment. He no longer felt the need to explain himself. Peace, he realized, wasn't the absence of noise. It was the absence of fear. One afternoon, Ethan stopped by the community room after work. The walls were brighter, now new paint, chosen by vote, uneven but joyful. A group of parents sat in a circle, sharing schedules and stories. Lily helped a younger girl sound out words from a picture book. Ethan stood in the doorway, unseen, and watched. This was what he'd chosen. A man approached him quietly, mid-30s, nervous hands. "I just wanted to say, I almost didn't come," he admitted. "I thought I'd be judged." Ethan shook his head. "You won't be." The man exhaled. "That's why I stayed." Across the room, Hannah's brother worked a screwdriver into a loose hinge. He looked up, caught Ethan's eye, and nodded. Not a gesture of apology this time, but of partnership. Later that week, Lily came home excited. "We're doing a kindness project," she announced. "Everyone has to help someone without telling who it was." Ethan smiled. "And what are you going to do?" She thought hard. "I think I'll sit with someone at lunch who's alone." Ethan felt his chest tighten, not with pride, but with awe. That night, as they washed dishes together, Lily asked, "Daddy, why did that lady at the bank go quiet?" Ethan dried his hands slowly. "Because sometimes people learn they were wrong." "Did she feel bad?" "Maybe," he said. "But what matters is what she did next." Lily nodded. "I like when people change." Ethan knelt and hugged her. "Me too." The next day, Veronica stopped by, unannounced, understated. She wore jeans this time, no heels. She watched the room with something close to wonder. "They don't need me anymore," she said softly. Ethan smiled. That was always the point. She hesitated. "I used to think influence was about being seen. And now?" He asked. "And now I think it's about knowing when to step back." She turned to leave, then paused. "Thank you for forgiving me when I didn't deserve it." Ethan considered that. "You did the work." As the sun dipped lower, parents gathered their children. The room emptied gently. Lily ran up to Ethan, cheeks flushed. "Daddy, can we walk home?" she asked. "It's still light." They did. The streets felt different now, not because they'd changed, but because Ethan had. He saw people where he once saw problems, possibility where he once saw limits. At a crosswalk, Lily squeezed his hand. "I'm glad you didn't go on TV." Ethan laughed softly. "Me too." "Quiet is nicer," she said. "Yes," he agreed. "It is." They passed the bank on the corner. The glass reflected the sky, calm and wide. Ethan didn't look in. He didn't need to, because the real measure, the one that mattered, was walking beside him, asking honest questions and learning how to be kind without applause. If you believe love still wins, even after judgment, even without a spotlight comment, amen. Let this space fill with hope. Someone scrolling right now might need to see it and keep going. That evening, Ethan tucked Lily into bed. She yawned, eyes heavy. "Daddy," she murmured, "are we rich?" Ethan smiled, brushing her hair back. "We're rich in time." She smiled sleepily. "That's my favorite kind." When the lights were off and the house settled, Ethan sat alone for a moment. He thought of the screen at the bank, the silence, the shock. It had been a turning point, but not the destination. The real ending, he knew now, wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about proving something right over and over in small ways until it became real. And as night wrapped the city in quiet, Ethan felt ready. Not for attention, not for praise, but for one last truth waiting just a head-soft human, and warm enough to carry the story home. The house was quiet in the way Ethan loved most earned, not empty. A single lamp glowed in the living room. Lily's backpack rested by the door, a small drawing tucked into the side pocket where she always kept things she didn't want to forget. Ethan noticed it as he passed, paused, then pulled it out, crayon lines. A stick figure man and a little girl holding hands. Above them, uneven letters, "We're okay." He smiled and placed it on the fridge. Right beside the photo of Hannah, her laugh caught mid-moment, eyes bright with a future she never got to see. For a long time after she died, that photo had hurt too much to look at. Tonight, it didn't tonight. It felt complete. Ethan stepped onto the small balcony and looked out over the city. Windows glowed like constellations, thousands of quiet lives unfolding all at once. Somewhere, someone was counting coins. Somewhere else, someone was counting blessings. Most people were doing both. His phone buzzed once. A message from the journalist, the stories still being shared. People say it helped them choose quiet courage today. Ethan typed a reply, then erased it. He didn't need to respond. The work was already moving without him. He thought back to the bank, the polished floors, the laugh that wasn't kind, the way a screen had silenced a room. For a moment, he let himself remember how it felt to stand there, judged by shoes and posture, reduced to an assumption. Then he let it go, because the truth was simpler than anyone expected. The money hadn't changed him. The attention hadn't saved him. The apology hadn't healed him. What healed him was choosing, again and again, to protect what mattered when it would have been easier to perform. Ethan walked into Lily's room and stood in the doorway. She slept on her side, one arm flung over the pillow, breathing slow and sure. He adjusted the blanket and lingered, listening. "I've got you," he whispered, not waking her. In that moment, he understood the real balance he'd been checking all along, not the one on a screen, the one in his life. If this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap, like, not for me, not for a channel, but for the single parents who keep showing up when no one is watching. For the people who choose dignity over noise, protection over praise. One click can be your way of saying, "I felt you. I see you." Ethan turned off the light and returned to the living room. Tomorrow would bring normal things: breakfast to make, a walk to school, a meeting or two that didn't need his name attached. It would bring small choices that added up, the kind that never trend. And that was enough. Because lives don't change all at once. They change when someone decides to be consistent, when someone refuses to trade peace for applause, when someone understands that real wealth is measured in safety, time, and love that stays. The millionaire went silent that day because a number surprised her, but the world changed quietly afterward because a father chose his daughter's peace over everyone else's approval. And somewhere tonight, another parent is standing in a line, wondering if being okay is enough. It is. Sometimes being okay, protected, present, and kind is the richest ending there is.